Carolina wins at Clemson 65-55, and the Tar Heels are now officially the ACC Frontrunners. Let's talk about a big-time win over the Tar Heels. Go Heels.
You are Locked On Tar Heels, your daily podcast on the UNC Tar Heels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, what's up? Welcome into the Locked On Tar Heels podcast. I'm your host, Isaac Schade. It's great to be together reacting live after Carolina knocks off Clemson 65-55 to move to 3-0 in the ACC. It feels good. It feels like Carolina basketball. This is where things are meant to be. We are reacting live to this game, so come on, hop in the live chat. It looks like things are already hopping in there. It's great to see everyone. Ted's there, Nintendo Nerd, Big Kush, Michael Shadron, Derek Murphy, Sam, Kathy. What's up, everybody? Let's get it going. Here's the deal. We're going to unpack this game more fully, obviously, on Monday's show, but I want to give you 15 to 20 minutes of reaction to it. I've had several people lately say, man, I would love to have more live reactions. So here we go. We're doing the thing. As we talk, I'm going to put up the box score from the game so that we can see it, and you can kind of interact with that as I talk about everything. So you should be able to see it there on your screen. I'm over on the left side. Look, this game, here's what we're going to do. We're going to look at the four big picture things, four things specifically about the game. That's kind of how we're unpacking today. But just right off the top, this game to me is more about the Tar Heels than it is about Clemson. Look, I know that Clemson has this history, especially in the last couple years of the Oliver Purnell era, of getting off to these great non-conference starts and then just poop in the bed in ACC play. That is not this Clemson team. I know they have back-to-back losses right now. I get it. I hear that. I understand it. But playing at Miami, lots of good teams are going to go lose there. And then hosting the Tar Heels, I'm telling you, this is a strong Clemson team, but the Tar Heels went in and did work. Don't cheapen this victory by saying that this is more about Clemson losing than it is Carolina winning. That is just not the case. Now, remember too that Clemson's coming in ticked off after losing that Miami game. So it makes this win and Carolina's perseverance through it all the more impressive. And by the way, don't let yourself or your friends or anyone look at the final score of this game and say, oh, easy win for the Tar Heels. They didn't have to do much work. No, this is about Carolina sticking to it, taking a game that was incredibly close and just making stops and getting scores down the stretch. Boy, you love to see it. All right, so as I said, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to start with four big picture takeaways from this game. Let's go here. First off, it's early, but Carolina has a leg up on the ACC race. Why? Because as I see it, North Carolina, Clemson, and Duke are your three best teams in the conference right now. And so in your third conference game of the season to go ahead and go get a win at one of those two other schools, that is critically important. So great job by Carolina to get that early leg up in the conference race. Now, keep in mind, Clemson comes back to Chapel Hill exactly a month from today. That'll be on February 6th. So you got to be ready for that because you know they're going to be upset about it. Now, here's the other reason this is important to get an early leg up in ACC play is because Carolina only gets to play Notre Dame once and only gets to play Louisville once, who are the bottom feeders of this conference. But they do have to play Clemson twice. They do have to play Duke twice, Miami twice, and only get to play Virginia at Virginia in John Paul Jones Arena. So getting this win at Clemson, so big. All right, so that's number one. Number two, in the big picture takeaways from this thing, the Tar Heels are now up to count them, 4 quad one wins. You might remember last year and the year before we're struggling just to get one quad one win. And here we go, 3 games into conference play, and you got 4 of them already. I know Purdue got their 5th quad one win last night. That leads the nation. But now Carolina is tied for second place nationally with 4 quad 1 wins. That is so big time. And here's the other good part about that. Carolina now is not talking about will we make the tournament as they were the past couple years. It's not about, oh boy, hand wringing to see, like, can we get off the bubble? No. Carolina is going to make the NCAA tournament this year. Now, things like this, getting this 4th quad 1 win, are about helping your seeding, because getting these kind of wins is helping Carolina like move into that top 4 seed discussion. That's where things are at right now. They were a 3 in Joe Lunardi's latest bracketology that came out yesterday, and they're going to hang around there and maybe even move up. Third thing in kind of the big picture takeaways from this game for me is that Carolina is proving themselves to be road warriors. It was very interesting, as you well know, the Tar Heels had not played a true road game until Tuesday at Pittsburgh. Prior to that, it was all in the Smith Center or neutral site games. But here they go. They win at Pitt, and then now they win at Clemson. This team is veteran, they're experienced, and it shows in how they win this game. For example, there was a play down the stretch where Carolina had just scored. Forgive me, I forget who it was. And then Elliot Cadeau comes down and launches an early shot clock 3. That's not the shot Carolina needed there. But the veteran play of this team responded and kept getting the ball to the right players to make the right plays. That's what you have to have, is experience to win on the road. And so doing so, winning at Pitt, winning now at Clemson, we talked about this 3-game road stretch and how difficult it was going to be. What it does to win the first 2 games is makes the NC State game on Wednesday like a cherry on top of it, right? Like now there's not a ton of pressure where it's like, oh gosh, Carolina went 1-1 or 0-2 at Pitt and Clemson, and now they have to have this NC State game. This NC State game now, it's just window dressing on what they've already done. Now, obviously, you want to win that game because it's state, but I think that's going to allow Carolina to play more freely, knowing that it's like, all right, we've already proven it twice. Let's wrap up this road stretch 3-0 and 4-0 in the ACC. All right, the fourth big picture season-long takeaway from this for me is the defense. We talked about it on Thursday's show, but I asked Coach Rob the question, hey, look, is Carolina's defense starting to rise up to the same level as the offense? As you look at Ken Palm and where the offensive efficiency and defensive efficiency were, the offense has been floating around the top 10 all season. As of right now, right after the game and the update after the Clemson win, the Tar Heels are 12th in offensive efficiency. And that defense used to be hovering down in the 30s, 40s, but it's slowly been rising. It was 25th immediately after the Pitt game, then kind of fell off to 27th throughout the week. But immediately following the win over Clemson after that update, the defensive efficiency is up to 17th in the nation. That ability to be balanced on both sides of the court, where, like, think about Carolina's football team. It's like, all right, Drake, go outscore everybody, because the defense is not going to be able to sustain on the other side. Not so with the basketball team. You love to see a team bought in, defensively willing to guard and do those kind of things. Another part of the defense is that coming into this game, you look at what Clemson's doing, and their 2 biggest players in terms of scoring are PJ Hall and Joe Girard. And it's like, look, okay, here's the thing. We've got to hold these dudes at least in check. You're not going to hold them down, but can you hold them in check? And Carolina absolutely did that. PJ Hall came in averaging 20.2 points a game. In this one, he got the double figures, 10, but it took him 13 shots to get there. He was just 4 of 13 from the floor, 0 of 5 from 3, and he fouled out as Carolina did the things that they needed to do to put him in not great scenarios. What about Joe Girard? He had an even worse day. Came in averaging 15.8 points, and he had just 5, 1 of 10 from the field and 0 of 4 from 3. Now, I know some of these are open looks. I get it. I hear that. But Carolina's ability to hold down Clemson's 2 leading scorers is a critical factor in this win. Thinking about the defense a little more as we think big picture, this is now 4 straight games holding opponents under 70 points. This is now back-to-back games holding ACC opponents under 60. Y'all, that is crazy. And what's good about that is, defense travels. right? Because in games where the shots aren't falling like they were at Pitt on Tuesday, they started falling better in this game. But still, when you're not knocking it down offensively like you're used to, a team can't beat you if they can't score. And that's what Carolina is doing. They've played 14 games this season. 9 of those opponents have been held to 70 or less points. So the offense is going to be there. It's going to show up. But man, I tell you, if Carolina can keep doing what they're doing defensively, they're going to be able to win game in and game out. Okay, I want to talk about 4 specific things from this game. We've been looking big picture. I want to hone in on some things that I saw specifically in this game that I thought were critical to Carolina being able to win it. We'll do that in just a second. But first, I need to tell you a little bit about our friends at FanDuel. Hey, the NFL regular season's wrapping up, but there's still time to get in on the action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. The app is super easy to use, and there's so many different ways to bet, like same game parlays, the Explore tab that helps you find new various ways to bet. And oh, by the way, thinking about FanDuel, Clemson was favored in this game by 1.5 points, and Carolina wins by 10 after they were able to get that scoring run down the stretch of the game. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet a layup. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. All right, folks, what's up? Thank you so much for diving in with us, reacting live to Carolina's 65-55 win at Clemson. The Tar Heels moved to 3-0 in ACC play, and things are looking good. We're all feeling good right now. By the way, we got the chat up and going. I'm going to go through 4 game-specific things, but then I'm going to look at the chat and grab a couple questions. I know there's great conversation going on over there, so if you want to add in a question or two, I'm going to take 2 or 3 after I walk through this. All right. Where I want to go next, as we start to think game specifics, is talking about Mr. Armando Bacot. We've been begging and pleading throughout this season for him to just show Armando Bacot level tenacity. And he finishes this game 14 points, 16 rebounds, and does it on an efficient 6 of 11 shooting. Wasn't quite as strong from the free throw line today, 2 of 4, but we'll get to the free throw line in just a second. But Armando also had 3 assists, just 1 turnover, had 2 blocks. And as you probably saw, he is now up to 5th on the all-time Carolina scoring list, passing both Charlie Scott and Al Wood. And oh, by the way, recording his 75th career double-double. I love to see it. And here's what I saw from Armando. I'm curious if you guys all thought and felt the same. There was this, like, right out of the gate, he was connected, he was aggressive, demanding the ball, getting position, and was locked in defensively as well. I really, really think there's something about him coming into this game, knowing that he's playing PJ Hall, who, by the way, he talked about yesterday in his press conference, that he loves that PJ Hall is starting to get his flowers. You know what I'm saying? And in so doing, I think that Armando was like, look, PJ Hall's getting all this love. I am not. So I'm about to go out here and prove to America and everyone that I'm the man and I deserve to get the accolades that he's getting. And that's exactly what Armando did. I loved his aggressiveness. I love him demanding the ball, getting in position. It was great. You love to see it. Armando continuing to roll in that way. And so here's the thing. Armando now in Carolina's back-to-back ACC road games has gotten to double-digit field goal attempts in both of those. I want to see that game in and game out. Like, Carolina has not, just throughout the season, has not given him enough touches to where he's getting up to double-digit shot attempts game after game after game. But now he does that against both Pitt and now against Clemson. I want to see it again against NC State on Wednesday. I want to see Armando doing work against DJ Burns. You remember the big fella? Yeah, that's coming up. All right, number 2 on our 4 specific takeaways from this game. I got to give some credit to Clemson. They did a really nice job on RJ Davis. And so other guys had to step up. Now, to RJ's credit, he kept fighting, kept doing what he needed to do, and wound up, tied with Armando for the team lead, 14 points in this game. And like his numbers, you see him here on screen, 5 of 13 from the field, 2 of 5 from 3. So he still shot 40% from 3. That brings his average up. I haven't done all my stats, putting them in yet to see what that brings RJ's 3-point shooting up to, but 2 of 2 from the free throw line. Didn't get there until, that final closing minute of the game. But I loved his perseverance to do that. Clemson, again, just did a great job of bothering him. I thought Chase Hunter's height bothered RJ quite a bit, his physicality, but I love RJ's determination to keep fighting through it. And oh, by the way, it's like, okay, so maybe I'm not scoring at the same clip as I usually am. And that's funny to say that when he drops 14, but yet still had 3 assists and just 1 turnover in the game and 4 rebounds. I loved seeing him get in there with the trees and do work. So anyway, all that to say, Clemson did a great job on RJ, and so other guys had to step up, and they did. Probably my favorite statistical thing from this game is that all 10 players that got on the floor scored. Now, it wasn't a ton, it was balanced, but that's better. I don't need it to just be like Seth coming in and getting 10 and nobody else scoring. Literally, every person that played scored for the bench. It was Seth Trimble with 3, Jalen Washington 4, Paxson Wojcik had a critical 3. We'll talk about that in a minute. Jae'lyn Wither had 2. It was a nice putback off the Paxson Wojcik layup attempt. And Zayden High even had that nice little turnaround baseline jumper. You love to see it from everyone. Speaking of, when everyone's doing their job like that, just the whole bench conversation we've had the entirety of Coach Davis's career so far, it allows him to continue to rely on the bench. And to that point, nobody played more than 35 minutes in this game. To be able to save legs like that is so important. And I was really, really encouraged by that. Also, speaking of everyone playing and doing well, 4 different Tar Heels had 3 or more assists. And so that's really encouraging as well. I also, by the way, we talked about PJ Hall and Joe Girard not having as good a game, but I got to shout out Ian Shefflin. Like, this dude had a great game for Clemson, 16 points, 11 rebounds, 5 of 8 shooting, 6 of 7 from the free throw line, 2 assists, 5 steals, and 4 blocks. I was really impressed with his motor. Carolina wasn't necessarily keeping up with it all the time, but they did. Jae'lyn Wither came in and provided some really good energy to kind of help negate that early in the second half. And I was really proud of what Jalen did there. Again, same as at Pitt on Tuesday. It's not that Jalen came in and had to do a bunch, but it's just he came in and brought that energy to kind of keep Shefflin at bay for a while there. Anyway, props to Shefflin for his game. All right, number 3 in 4 game-specific things. I thought Carolina's 3-point shooting in the second half was critical. Carolina goes 5 of 12 in the second frame, and it came from a multitude of sources. Obviously, RJ had 2, but then maybe the 2 biggest shots of the entire game were the back-to-back threes, the Woj bomb, a Paxson Wojcik 3, and then Seth Trimble had one on the next possession. I don't know about you all, but I thought those two shots were probably the most critical shots of the game. And then that other second half 3-pointer, I got to get back to it. Forgive me. Let me get there real quick. The other one came from Harrison Ingram, had one up top as well. And so really great shooting performance from 3 for the Tar Heels in the second half. And in fact, they had those 5 threes. Meanwhile, they only had 5 2-pointers. So Carolina had as many 3-pointers in the second half as they did 2s. So the other critical thing with the 3-point shooting on the other side, we had talked on yesterday's show about how important it was for the Tar Heels to be able to hold Clemson down on their 3-point shooting, because that's where Clemson gets a lot of their offense from. And oh boy, Clemson goes 1 of 18 from 3. And the one that they did get came from an unexpected source. It was Chauncey Wiggins that hit it. Nothing for PJ Hall, nothing for Chase Hunter, nothing for Joe Girard. I was so incredibly encouraged by that. Want to see Carolina keep doing that, keep being a better 3-point shooting team than they were last year, and also holding down the opponents at bay on their 3-point shooting. Critically important. All right, the fourth thing I want to mention in our game-specific takeaways is I thought this was yet another example of Carolina finding more ways to win. We talked about that with Pittsburgh on Tuesday night, and here it was again against Clemson. And here's what I mean. Carolina on the season has been getting to the free throw line and making more free throws than their opponents attempt. We talked about that as one of our Four Corners previews on yesterday's show and how critical it was to do that. And by the way, to keep Clemson off the free throw line because they aren't getting there much, but they're converting at a high clip. Well, in this game, Carolina is not able to get to the free throw line very much. In fact, in the first half, what were the numbers? The first half free throws, Carolina was 1 of 3, while Clemson was 12 of 14. And you're starting to think, oh man, if that's the kind of day it's going to be, Carolina might be in a little bit of trouble because they get so much of their points in production at the free throw line. But I tell you what, they kept after it. And while it still wasn't a great free throw shooting day, they caught up and got closer to Clemson. But I thought it was critical. Carolina finished 7 of 12 from the line, while Clemson finished 12 of 16. So in the second half, they only took 2 free throws, Clemson did, and that was PJ Hall late. He missed them both, as you remember. And then Carolina got to the free throw line and was 6 of 11 in the second half. So not great. Shot 58.3% in total in this game. But what it tells me and why I appreciate it is that it means that Carolina was able to win without getting much production, and especially without efficient production from the free throw line. And so that, to me, is a great thing to see. All right, so that's all the big picture takeaways I wanted to talk about. The game specific takeaways I wanted to talk about. Obviously, on Monday's show, we'll say a lot more. I want to talk about rebounding. Carolina did a great job there. I want to talk about the lineup in the closing stretch where it was Seth Trimble instead of Elliot Cadeau. So we'll have that and other things. But right now, I want to look through and see some of your questions that you popped in, so we can look at those. If you didn't get your question in, go ahead and do so now. And I'm going to take about 2 or 3. Nintendo Nerd dropped in this one. I love to see it from Nintendo Nerd. Let me take my name off of there so the questions can show up better. You see it on screen, but Nintendo Nerd says, why are we not seeing even more Jaylen Washington? I just love what he brings whenever he's on the floor. And I agree here. Looking at the box score, Jaylen played 806 in this game, had 3 field goal attempts, made 2 of them, missed that 1 3. I thought it was a good look at the top of the key there, had 2 boards, 1 block, and didn't do anything else. We did see early in the game, I liked that we got another one of those jumbo lineups where there was some Bacot and some Jalen Washington. I wondered if Coach Davis was doing that maybe in an attempt to try to offset having both PJ Hall and Ian Schieffelin in the game. I wonder in this game specific, Nintendo Nerd, if it's partly because Schieffelin was too quick, and was doing all of that we talked about earlier to get around. So the only time Jaylen was going to get many minutes in this game was when Bacot was down. Armando played 34-02. I'm with you, though. I continue to feel like Carolina would be better to get Jaylen 10 to 15 minutes a game. I think maybe the reason we don't see more of that is, especially now as we get into ACC play, he does get pushed around a little bit. He's gotten stronger, but he's still not physically strong enough to just like dominate rebounds in the way he needs to be. The shooting touch is there. And, but I think we're going to continue to see in this 7, 8, 9 minute range. That's a great question and one that I agree with you on there, Nintendo Nerd. I know I saw another question I wanted to get to about Armando Bacot. But forgive me, I'm not finding it. Oh, there it is from Michael Shadron. He says this, Isaac, I'm curious if you think Armando can compete with RJ for ACC Player of the Year if he keeps up his production. This is a great big picture question from Michael. And here's the thing. Yes. I mean, to put it simply, I think because of what's happened early season where it's been RJ dominating things and Armando lagging a little bit behind, plus the production you see put up from players like PJ Hall, he's going to be back. This is just a one-off where Carolina was able to do work against him because of Bacot. You're going to see Kyle Filipowski continue to put up numbers. You're going to see Blake Hinson at Pitt continued to put up numbers. I know Carolina held him down as well on Tuesday, but he's going to keep doing work. So, but if Armando can do like this game in and game out and get, double doubles just stacked on stacked on stacked, yes, he can compete for it. The problem is the better he does and the better RJ does, they're going to probably split votes. And so can he compete? Yes. I don't think he did enough in non-con play to draw people's attention. So if Armando wants to compete for ACC Player of the Year votes, we're going to have to see him doing this, putting up like 15-15 type games from here on out. Like he's going to have to dominate DJ Burns on Wednesday when Carolina goes to NC State. That's what we're going to have to see from Armando if he wants to dominate those. All right, let me scroll back down, see if we got any other questions here. Nope, nothing else we want to attack. Yes, actually, here is one about Seth Trimble. This is a good one from John Shelton. Why isn't Seth Trimble starting after the way he has played the last 5 games? John, this is a phenomenal question. And here's my take on it and why I think we aren't seeing him in the starting lineup. By the way, let me give Seth's line really quick. 21 minutes played, 1 of 3 from the field, 1 of 1 from 3, 4 rebounds, 2 each offensive and defensive. Here's the thing to me. Look at those minutes played, John and everyone here. Seth played 21 minutes. Elliott played 18. It's a classic case of I know the conversation that we always have, and I do this as well, is I want to know who those 5 starters are going to be, right? We're always talking about that. But this is a critical example of it's more important who ends the game than who starts the game. And you saw it down the stretch. Elliott's on the bench. Seth is in along with the other 4 starters. So the majority of the stretch run of this game was RJ, Seth, Cormac Ryan, who thankfully was able to, when he went down with that late ankle injury in the first half and was up to 10 points, I was like, oh goodness. But thankfully he was able to come back. But again, RJ, Seth, Cormac Ryan, Harrison Ingram, and Armando Bacot. And so while Seth didn't start, it's critical that you saw him in there and playing the stretch run minutes. That shows the trust that Coach Davis has in him. That shows Seth's ability to battle with anyone, to be that physical perimeter defender, to be able to defend in the post when he gets switched into that. And so while I don't think we'll see him come into the starting lineup, but I do think we'll see him continue to get minutes that match or rival Elliott's minutes. So, John, that is a great question, and that's where it's at to me with it. So, and John says later, yes, agreed. Seth's off-ball defense is important too. Being a pass or 2 away and making sure to wall off defenders. So, folks, it's been great to be together. A great win for the Tar Heels. Again, we'll unpack the game more fully and look at big picture things, what it means heading to NC State and the kind of the shape of the ACC. We're going to do all of that on Monday's show. Can't wait to unpack it. Boy, it's nice to get a win early in the day and then just be able to watch everyone else go throughout the day and have to get wins themselves. Like, for example, Marquette lost at the same time as Carolina was playing. So that is big time there. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Great to be together. We're going to talk again, as I said, on Monday. But until then, peace.